this. I got to tell you, I got to be honest, Elena, I take this podcast maybe a little too seriously, and I like to get into character whenever I'm about to interview someone. So what I've been doing for the last 45 minutes is I've been sitting on this little guy right here, and I got to tell you, it really sucks. I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
How did you come up with this idea? I understand the pain point, but when was it like enough is enough?
Right. So it was in 2022. I had just gotten out of the shower, so my hair was wet, and I wanted to put it up. So I put it up in a claw clip, like many people do, and I wanted to lay down, but I just couldn't get my head to rest comfortably on the pillow, and I ended up just like throwing it across the room, and I was like, I can't deal with this. So I tried to find something online, and there was nothing that was a claw clip but was flexible. And it turned out that they're actually really dangerous to drive in because they could get stuck in your skull. So I decided to just create it myself.
That is incredible. You identified such a significant problem. It really is. We say it all the time, and it's a cliche, but it's a why didn't I think of this type of invention? My big question is, and we'll get into this later, but my big question is, if it's flexible enough to be comfortable, is it strong enough to hold your hair?
Right. That's a great question. And it really is a balancing act. I have one right here so I can show you. It took almost 20 iterations to get it like this, but it's flexible. It does hold all my hair, and I have thick hair, and I tried it on my cousin who has a ton of hair. So I'm really proud to say that, yes, it does hold all your hair. It's more something that you would wear if you're lounging and driving, working out. But yeah, it works as well as I intended it to. So
That's awesome. Well, good for you. And it always is a balance, right? I mean,
Right.
I was talking with our last guest. You're always trying to find a balance of the right adhesive, the right tension, the right tensile strength, the right plastic poly blend. And it's never just as simple as finding a manufacturer's like, oh yeah, we make a perfect plastic for a flexible hair clip. No one's thinking about that.
Right.
And it's on you to find it. So tell me about your background. Have you wanted to develop a product all your life, or is this something that came out of necessity?
I'm going to say both. I had a list on my phone of just ideas that I've had, and I just kept going back to this flexible claw clip that could stay comfortable in your head. And it just stuck out to me. Throughout my life, I've always been a creative person. So it just kind of felt natural for me to choose to create something like this.
That's so cool. And have you had any business or product background? I mean, lemonade stand when you were a kid to newspapers, candy bars, what?
Yeah. I have done stuff like that in the past. When I was really little, I remember saying to my dad, like, I had this idea of like a little makeup stand in a small locker. And I kept saying to my dad, I was like, look, I invented something. He was like, no, like that's a prototype. It's a prototype. So I feel like that was instilled in me like at a very young age. Also growing up, I also did like YouTube editing for people when I was like 12. So I was kind of business savvy, but this is my first time doing something like this.
Excellent. And what is the allure about developing this product? Is it this idea of passive income? Is it just solving a problem that stimulates you? What is it, you think?
That's a good question. I feel like this is something that I want to take as far as I can. Currently, I'm a freelancer and I do social media management. So I'm kind of hoping that I can take this and it'll be the next step in my career. And then who knows what comes from it. But I plan on having this, for as long as I can and just expanding it.
Excellent. Well, I really think it's a product where it will be what you make of it. I run into business owners all the time who they have one lipstick that they sell, and because their mindset is this is a side hustle, it's always going to be a side hustle. It's all about your mindset and where you take it.
Right.
And I think when it becomes really becomes a larger business model, a 7-figure business model, is when you kind of have like a good, better, and best product lineup. Having one item is fine. You can start there, have fun with it, make money off of it. But to really have a website or a suite of products where no matter who comes in, this one's too cold, this one's too hot, this one's just right, and you get that conversion in that sale, now you can really start turning over a lot of customers. And I see that with this product. You know, you can go as big as you want, you can go as small as you want. You're an inventor. This isn't going to be your last idea, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're going to understand the process, and you're going to be even more inspired, and the next product you develop is going to take even less time.
Right.
So let's talk about time. How much time have you invested in this idea?
So in fall of 2022, that's when I entered my first pitch competition, and it was really just an idea at the time. But then there was another one being hosted in April of 2023, and I was like, I'm going to dedicate all of my time, my energy, and resources into this. And I spoke with mentors. I came up with a business plan. I was able to have a CAD drawing of my invention, and then I graduated that summer. And I ended up winning first place. So that was my first big investment into the journey. So I bought myself a 3D printer. And since then, I've been prototyping on there, done at least 20 different iterations. And then most recently, I finally hired an engineer to design it for manufacturing.
That is awesome. Thanks. Now, these pitch competitions, was this something facilitated through like a university program, or how did you come about those?
Yeah, so they were both through my university. Anyone could apply if they were a student or if they were accepted into the university. But another thing about it was Hofstra University, and they have a mentor program. So even if you aren't a part of the school, you have access to the mentors at that school. So I would advise anyone to look into their local colleges and see if they have any resources like that, even if you're not a part of the university.
That's great advice. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
You have utilized a lot of resources at your disposal, and I love that you're here talking about that, because I'm the opposite. I'm very much, you see me, I'm in my dungeon right now. I'm completely alone. This is how I operate. I don't do a lot of networking. Really, the podcast is my networking. Mm-hmm. I don't do a lot of networking or outreach. I've reached out for some grants, but there's always strings attached, and I've always reverted to, that just sounds like more work than it's worth. What would you say to somebody who wants product validation to try to get a hold of some cash? What advice would you give them?
Well, I really liked the pitch competition because it was a grant and there were no strings attached, and it really helped with networking because one of the judges there, she's actually my lawyer now, because she does intellectual property, and she has been such a big help in advising me on what to do in terms of a trademark and patent research. So I think that the networking connections that I've made from that have just been great.
So you're
I would advise people to do that for sure.
Excellent. You're a long way from telling your dad, look, I got an invention. Now you're telling hundreds of people at a time, now thousands of people at a time about your invention. And because you're putting yourself out there, as you said, you got cash in hand, and you got so much value in the connections and the network.
Right.
I mean, you have an IP lawyer somewhat at your disposal. That is so invaluable.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, amazing. And then, so from what I'm gathering, 2.5 years in, we are with this. Mm-hmm. Now, at the 2.5 year mark, where are you at with the product now?
So I was advised by my mentor, shout out to Aaron Foss, because he has just been the best. He gives me the best advice. But he advised me, before investing in manufacturing, because like I said, I hired an engineer to recreate my invention to have it prepared for manufacturing. He said, just sell 3D printed versions of it first, about 50, and just get their feedback too, because even right now, there's things on here that I want to change. So before putting in that big investment, that's what I'm going to do next.
I think that is really good advice.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, Marcus and I have talked about this. When you put your product out there, and keep in mind, there's no such thing as perfect. But when you put your product out there, somebody's going to pop in and say, well, I just wish it was a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, or squished a little bit more, or it's still a little too rigid, what have you. And it's that balance act. You're never going to please them all, but it's politics. The goal is to appease the most people that you can.
Right.
If it's efficient. Well, I love that advice. My question there is, have you 3D printed them? And is the material the same? Is it, I guess injection molding and 3D printing are two different things. Are you going to be able to achieve the same effect?
Right. That's a question that's still unanswered for me as well. I personally am not going to be the one 3D printing them. Another great thing about networking is my mentor knew someone who has a bunch of 3D printers in his basement that I ended up meeting when we auditioned for Shark Tank together. So that's an interesting story. But that's what I've been doing. I've been testing out different filaments to see if it will work the same because, right now I only have black, but I would like to have different colors. And even if it's the same kind of material, it still is different. So that's going to be something that we're going to see change down the road.
Interesting. Well, excellent. You'll figure it out. I have all faith in that. And I think I want to go back to what Aaron said, which is, and I agree, which is yes, a small batch, 50, 100, what have you. You're probably going to be able to print them for between $1 and $4 a piece, I would think, at somewhat scale, like a 50 to 100 scale. And even if you break even or even lose money, okay, it's not a big deal. You're talking about less than $500 invested in this process. Now, I got to go back because you dropped the S word. You said Shark Tank. Tell me about your experience with Shark Tank.
Yeah. So it was very out of the blue. Aaron emailed me out of nowhere and was like, hey, I'm going. Do you want to join? And that was in May of this year, actually. And it was just a great experience. I really wasn't expecting much of it because I don't have any sales yet, but I met great people and it was really great to experience pitching my product to a producer. So that was an interesting experience and it really helped me with public speaking, I think.
Great. Was that in Los Angeles?
No, it was in New York.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
I'm from New Jersey.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, interesting. Well, I applied back in 2021, height of COVID, and they asked me to send in an audition video, which I did. And the response I got was basically, great job, but maybe this time next year. You're just not quite ready. Was that the experience you had, or what was the reasoning?
So it was an open casting call. So anyone could go. And then if you made it to the next round, then they would ask you to do an audition tape.
Got it. And
right.
At what point did it even get to the point where they got strict on the numbers and the owners of the company, or was it just baseline audition?
Like how many people they accepted?
No. So one of the things I was asked to be specific about was, are there any other owners of the company we need to know about? Are you serious about this investment? What is your ask? What are you going to spend the money on? Did you experience that as well?
Yeah, I had to fill out a whole entire packet with questions just like that.
Got it. Okay. So we had the same experience. The difference is I didn't go to New York. I sent in a 10-minute video. You showed up in person.
Exactly. But it was really great to be there in person and just feel the energy of different entrepreneurs around me because I was an entrepreneur major. I was actually a public relations major. So I really wasn't around people like me like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a lonely world we live in. It's tough to find other people developing physical products. There's a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, but they're usually real estate bros or software bros or what have you. And the people who really want to make something unique that really provides value, they're very few and far between, or at least we're all spread out. And it's great that you found a place to get them all together and to learn from them. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're sitting here Thursday, September 5th, 2024. What is your biggest hurdle at this point?
It's a good question. I think my biggest hurdle right now is getting over the perfectionism. I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist, but like I said before, there's things that I want to change, want to improve on my product. And I've kind of been going back and forth with the person who's going to be 3D printing them because I'm just trying to make sure that there's not going to be any hiccups, that everything's going to go smoothly. This is also my first time, aside from the pitch competition, really talking about the Cozy Clip publicly. So in my head right now is I'm just kind of wondering, how do I launch this? Making the biggest noise as possible, because also I found out that I won't be able to get a patent. So that's what's been going through my mind.
So you're a little nervous about the IP. Yeah. Your big question right now is, how do I get this in front of as many people as possible without exposing it to as many people as possible, because you're worried about your IP getting out of hand?
Right.
I understand. And that is the never-ending battle of small people like you and I, small inventors and developers like yourself and me. It's, wow, the more people I tell, the more chance I have of getting knocked off. But also, how do you sell something you're not marketing to thousands of people at a time?
Right.
Well, what I'll say is this. I'll speak for myself. I'm a small fish still. I've been selling for over 3 years now to the absolute best of my ability, and still I've not been knocked off. And although the product started off not so great, by all accounts now it's a, quote, good product. And you would think, hey, it might be worth somebody knocking off, but nobody's doing it. And if they do knock it off, it's usually going to be the Chinese, and they're going to sell it direct to consumers on like an Baidu or whatever Chinese app they have. And they're not going to do it right. And they're going to hit it. They can't sell to the U.S. They just can't. The big breakthrough has been Alibaba, AliExpress, and now Temu, where they've figured out how to sell to the U.S., but still it's clunky. It's a house of cards. People don't quite trust it. It's really nothing you should be concerned about. And the biggest thing is, if someone knocks you or I off, and let's say an American somehow has the confidence to buy it on Temu, they're going to get it, and it's not going to be as flexible as yours. It's not going to have your name. It's not going to have your backing. They're always going to know in the back of their head, this is a janky Chinese product that I bought, and next time I'm just going to eat it and buy the American version, and that's you.
Right. So
I would say start off slow. No one's going to notice you till you're doing $500,000 a year in sales. Okay. So you have plenty of runway to tell this to as many people as you can reach on your social media with maybe a little bit of meta ad spend. You're not worth knocking off until you're a disruptor. So take advantage of this. It's going to take you, 6 months to a year and a half to do $500,000 in sales if you really hit it hard. And that's plenty of time to work out and position yourself. Now, during that time, you're going to be making a lot of YouTube videos. You're going to have a website that ranks well with SEO, just organically, because it's got reviews on it. It's got genuine interaction. It's genuinely pleasing people. No imitator is ever going to beat you on those things because you're the first to do those. You're locked in.
That's true.
So have confidence with that. How do you feel about all that? Did any alarm bells ring?
No alarm bells rang. But something that did come to mind was my trademark is going to be approved soon, hopefully. And I honestly think that will be more beneficial than filing for a patent in my case, because I really like the name, and I feel like it's more easier to defend a trademark than a patent, in my opinion.
I think it is. I think you have more clout with a trademark, and it is easier to defend. And it's a very blatant infraction on your IP when somebody just takes your name. You can
Right.
call them out on social media and you can smear them because they did something so brazen,
Right.
so rude, right? With a patent, it's like, well, because they used the same pin with stainless steel and another
Right.
pin with zinc coating, they clearly violated my IP. You lost the audience
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you come in and say, what the F are they doing? They
Mhm.
jacked my name. Yes.
Right.
So that's cool. And then right now, because your trademark is pending, you have the right to put the little TM logo. This is not legal advice, but you can, your trademark pending. So you put the little TM logo. When it's
Uh-huh.
registered, you get to put that cool little R. And yeah, man, just kick their ass in competition. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've been thinking about too is in my head I was like, I'm going to have this big launch, this big reveal, and it's going to be once I have my product made, but now it's looking more like, okay, I'm going to start small. I'm going to maybe go to like a farmer's market or like a fair or something and set up a stand and just sell the ones that I have and get their feedback and then gradually move my way up.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
that's a great way to do it. I don't like customer facing. I don't know why. I feel like look, don't listen to me. It's just not, I'm just scared, to be blunt.
Mhm.
But if you can do that, do it. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Also doing a soft launch to your friends and family on Instagram,
Right.
Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. Don't hesitate to get your feet wet with a little bit of e-commerce too,
Okay.
because quickly you'll be able to help out that friend who's in upstate New York, and you know he's not going to see you at the fair and blah blah blah. And you
Right.
ship them. You get a little bit of experience shipping and picking and packing, doing that yourself, because you can definitely run an e-commerce out of your room or garage or apartment or whatever it is for that first year. To
Mhm.
ship out 7 to 15 orders a day, it's nothing. It takes an hour and a half.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's exciting. Now,
Mhm.
going back, the reason you and I began talking to talk a little bit more about IP, I'm really sorry. Can you remind me? I know that was a big part of your hangup was, is this patentable or not? And what was basically the story there behind the patentability?
My question on the patentability was, would that dictate where this is manufactured?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And since I can't get a patent, after I talked to my lawyer, she said it doesn't matter, just go with whatever's cheapest. So that was a big relief. But I guess what's still in my head is, how exactly do I launch it? Which is kind of what we just talked about.
Well, it is, but we should talk specifically about it. I mean,
Mhm,
because it's easy to say, yeah, just launch it on Facebook and friends and family, blah, blah, blah.
mhm,
I think very practically, as you said, to set up a booth at a farmer's market, art in the park, whatever type of event is around you is cool. It's a little bit of an investment because you got to have at the minimum a canopy, a table, nice cloth, a banner would be nice, some information
mhm,
would be nice. I mean, it's not a trade show. You don't have to spend $4,000, but you may have to spend $1,000 in your day, a little bit of gas and time. I really think you would be remiss not to just work on getting your website really banging.
mm,
Get your website launched. When you make your website public, it's not like you're exposed to the world and you're vulnerable.
right.
No one's going to go to that web page unless you specifically drive them there. No one's searching this out at this moment. So if you build a really good web page, and this can be one simple page, at the very top is the product, buy it now. And if they're not convinced because they don't know about it, a little bit below it is infographics. Case use here. The perfect thing for here. Shop now. The perfect clip for working out with a nice image. Shop now. And you educate the customer, this, that, and the other. So now you have a landing page. You have a place to convert people. And then you go to your Facebook and let all your friends and family know. You go to your Instagram, TikTok, what have you, let them all know. And you can quickly get a little bit of cash going on your website. You can work on shipping and you can get really good feedback really quickly. I like to
Mhm,
let my fingers do the walking. That's why I'm not a fan of trade shows. I'm not a fan of booths because you can be so much more efficient and a little bit more data driven by doing the e-commerce thing, by launching the website. Now, you can't replace face-to-face interaction. which frankly I've had very little of. So I would still highly encourage you. It sounds like you have the wherewithal to do it. Go out there, get in people's face, let them toss it back on the table and say, nah, I don't need this. Well, that's great. Just tell me why.
Right.
That could be really invaluable. So how do you feel about launching the website when you have your 50 or your 100 units?
Well, I have to get started on that. I'm happy that I have my domain. I've been kind of saving it for a year now. I do have some friends who are good at graphic design and all that, so they're helping me out. But yeah, I guess that's my next step.
Definitely. And then
Yeah.
where did you reserve the name through? What website platform are you going to build your shop on?
It was through GoDaddy, and I'm using Shopify.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Good for
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
I use it too. I could give a crap about them, but we use it and it works, right? We're not sponsored, obviously.
Right.
Well, that's really good. Now, you have a unique advantage over most people. And I think everybody that I interact with has some unique advantage. I think yours is a pretty big asset, though. You're a social media manager.
Right.
So you know how to leverage the power of social media.
Exactly.
So tell me about your background, how you got into that, and what's your favorite part about it?
Sure. So it honestly kind of just fell into my lap, to speak. So I majored in public relations. I had an internship I was a social media coordinator for someone I knew, and everything really that I've done has come through networking. One of my most recent jobs was I had to go get my car fixed. So I went to my local auto body shop and they asked what I do for a living. I told them, they were like, oh, we need that. So that was really funny. But the way I got into social media was I just was good at it from my background in video editing. That's kind of what started it all. But I am proud to say that I've had multiple videos go viral now.
Wow.
I feel like I've kind of cracked the code.
And
Um,
on what platform?
I would say YouTube.
Long form
So,
or short form?
um, it's a bit of both. So we do YouTube Shorts and we also do YouTube videos, but they're only about like 2 minutes long at most.
Got it. Well, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And this is for other clients or your own personal videos have gone viral?
This is for other clients, and our YouTube account has grown to 8,000 followers or subscribers. And we only started posting those videos like in May.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been great. And I know that that will be the first platform that I get on when I start making content about Cozy Clip.
You have so much subject matter. You can be so funny with it. You can be so witty with it.
Right.
Oh, man. And you can throw on so many different outfits and scenarios, right? Here's the workout scenario. You go down to do a sit-up. Bam. Here's the car scenario. Bam. Here's the lounging scenario. Bam. Oh, man. You have such a leg up on the competition. I think when you become big, when you really become noticeable, it's not going to be long, first of all. And when you're there, you're going to be locked in. And I think that's
Right.
because of YouTube. YouTube is Google. Google is YouTube. Literally, they own each other. Google owns YouTube. Let's talk about SEO just for a second and discoverability.
Okay.
If you have 3 more videos than your competitor, you win. If you have 1 more video than your competitor, you win. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to beat every cheapo hair clip in the world, but if anyone was ever to knock you off and have a flexible, what are these called again? Clips?
Claw clip.
Claw clips.
Yeah.
And have a flexible claw clip, you're going to beat them because you got such a head start on your videos, and that's shorts, that's long forms, what have you.
Right.
When you Google TorkStrap, we occupy pretty much the first 2.5, maybe 3 pages of Google. And that is just because of videos. We didn't pay for any of that. People obsess over SEO. How can I rank first on Google? YouTube. So look, you have an incredible asset in front of you. you're going to be giving me advice in a year, definitely, because what you're doing, you have such a strong advantage, good product, good mindset. How are you going to price this thing? Because these are cheap.
That's a great question. Well, one of in the prize package that I won from the pitch competition, one of them was marketing services with a company called Digital Remedy. And Mike Simon, he said that he would meet with me and kind of help me sort that out. So I think what will go into that is, the manufacturing costs. I did get a quote for about $3 to have it fully assembled and packaged and everything.
On how many units or on how many clips?
I think it was 1,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as far as injection molding, that's a pretty small order.
Mm-hmm.
There is assembly required. I didn't think about that.
Right.
But essentially, it's one single mold because these are two no, they're not identical.
So this one is identical, and it would be $1.30 for one half. So in total, it's about $3 for it to be assembled and packaged.
So they would have to make two molds. Did they tell you those details, or did they just?
No, it's one mold because
Okay.
So the minimum order quantity that I told you, I think it would be like 1,500 claw clips, I believe.
Okay.
I think.
Fully assembled claw clips.
Yeah.
All right, here's what I'm thinking off the top of I'm thinking that's a high price, so I'm going to ask this. How did you contact this manufacturer? Was this a broker? Was this a China? What?
So this was someone that the woman I hired to engineer the final product. It's a company that she works with, but they are overseas, so it's kind of like that middleman situation, I think.
Uh-huh.
That's something I want to ask you because I thought I heard somewhere in one of the episodes where someone said that an injection mold could cost around like $2,000 to $4,000. Am I remembering that correctly?
You are, and that's, I think, why you're hearing this. Did they say anything to you about mold cost, or did they just give you a price?
Yeah, it was like $10,000 for a mold.
Okay. Yeah, when you reach out directly to China, you can get this is a small mold. Mm-hmm. You can get it for $1,900, $2,200 when you work directly with a plastics company. I'm going to take a note. I got a really good plastics guy in China.
Oh, great.
I vetted him. I haven't used him, but I have a pretty stringent process for putting manufacturers through approval. And I was ready to invest my money with him. Plans changed at the last minute. And it was the product we're injection molding is almost exactly the same size as one half of this, right?
Okay.
His what do you call it? Pseudo name, whatever. His nickname is Rick. They always give themselves an American nickname. You can speak to him on Alibaba or on WeChat. I mentioned WeChat 2 episodes ago.
Right.
They love talking on WeChat. Okay, I'm taking a note. Connect Rick.
Thank you.
Of course.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's what I do. It's what I'm here for. So with Rick, I'll just tell you my experience. We had that plastic product. I swear it's insane how similar it was to this. Same shape, same dimensions. We sent him a 3D model, a rendering, if you will, that your engineer has made, a CAD, whatever you call it. And at first he said, well, hey, it's a little too thick here and too thin here. It's going to expand weird in the mold. So he's already kind of helping me engineer, right? All this is happening for free. And Lance designed the mold. Lance and I did it together. We were partnering up on it. So this whole project cost me like nothing. The only thing that was going to cost was the $2,000 mold and then the MOQ of 25,000 units. And those were, and this is important, like I said, same shape. We were going to get them for like 11 cents a piece.
Wow.
MOQ of 25,000, but at that price, I'm like, screw it, give me 50,000. I mean, the whole bill was less than $6,000.
Wow.
Lance and I were going to split it. It was peanuts. So yes, I'm going to connect you. I think you can get the pricing down. I think you'll pay Rick the mold cost. He'll make you the 25,000 units. I think 10% of them are going to be bad. I'm just going to tell you now. But it really doesn't matter. You're not going to get it cheaper. If you go through a broker, you know what you're going to pay. So when you're in, I would say stage 2, after 3D printing, you're confident with it. You really know what plastic you want to use. Then I would fire up Rick and get him going on an MOQ. And maybe 10,000 units, maybe 20,000. But again, it's going to be very cheap. The cost of the plastic items is so minimal. It's just that pre-work, the $2,000 for the mold, and making sure that he says to you, yeah, this is a good design. It's not going to warp. My understanding is warping is the biggest hurdle with molding.
Right.
He sent me a video of his factory, and this is another part of my vetting. And what I like about them is they make the molds on one half of the factory, and then they inject and assemble on the other half of the factory. What's scary about molds is, and I talked with Trevor of Cidiocrate, oftentimes molds are sourced. And so now you have multiple people interacting with a mold, and this mold is so crucially important. I prefer the guys making my product to have access to the mold and to be in communication with the mold maker. So I like that they do that all in one building. All right, so yeah, that's the problem with the broker. They're going to they got to make money. You know, they're putting in some work, but you're smart. You listen to the show. You can do all the work that they're doing better, much better, because you care. That's why.
Right.
All right, cool. So I'm going to connect you with Rick. We're going to get you better pricing. I'm excited about that.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, it's the least I could do. Now, because you're going to be getting this product, I'll say assembled and landed to you, I'm going to just anchor high and say $1.50. I really think you can pull that off.
Okay.
Let's call it $1 for simple math.
Okay.
Now, that means you can turn around and sell this for, look, you can sell it for whatever you want. You can sell it for $10, $19.95 for one, whatever. But a lot of people, they don't just want to buy one. They want to kind of see value and have accessories. So I'm thinking you do a 3-pack for like $19.95, a 6-pack for $34.95, let's say, and a really high value, like a 12-pack for, I'm not going to do the math, but like $60, let's say. I like that idea because you get a ton of margin, which you deserve, and you're going to need. It's not greed, none of that. You do need margin. I have a low margin product, and I just turn my cash for fun. I'm pretty much just on a merry-go-round of never getting paid. Don't be like me, okay?
Okay.
Pay yourself, and you'll have, with a high margin product, you can justify more marketing, better customer service, all these things that people really want in a company. They don't realize it, but that's what they're paying for. Yeah, so definitely sell it for whatever you want. Look, you can always bring the price down. It's really hard to kind of bring the price up because now it F's with your conversion rate and this type of stuff. How do you feel about that price point? Does that track with what you've been daydreaming? What are you thinking?
That is exactly what I've been thinking. I was thinking around selling it for like one for $12 to $13 maybe. And then, yeah, a pack of 3 for around like 19 or 20 sounds about right. I've been looking at the competition because there's something out there called flat lay clips. They're not clock clips. They look like a jaw like this. But if you have thick hair, then, it doesn't work for you. They just slide right out. But my mom bought one at a little boutique for $28. And I was like, Mom, why would you buy that? It's crazy. But another thing I've been thinking about too is since I can't get a patent, and I was thinking about ways to just go really big, was reaching out to different businesses and then eventually retailers potentially. And it made me think about how much they mark up those prices, wholesale, things like that.
Yeah, that's the other avenue you can go. And I've always kind of preached F retail, but everybody does this journey differently. So don't ever put too much stock in what I say. Okay. Episode 16, I interviewed Craig McManus. Craig is a guy who's been selling products really successfully for 10 plus years. He doesn't even sell on his website. He's just fully reliant on third-party people to sell his product for him. So when he designed his product and his product pricing, even his displays, everything is in mind for how do I give this to Ace Hardware and ensure that they can sell it.
Right.
So when you're thinking about your price, think about what you really want that retailer to sell it for and where you think they would have the most success. This is all up to you. You know, a lot of the times us inventors, we get into this and we think, well, I'm going to reach out to a Ulta and I'm going to see what they say. I'm going to see what they tell me and this, that, and the other. Really, it's up to you to tell them what to say and what to do. Going to Ulta and being like, I have this great product. What do you guys think? Would you do something with it? I don't know. They're going to be like, dude, get your stuff together, then come back.
Yeah.
But when you go to Ulta and you say, very matter of fact, these sell all day long for $19.95. These are an incredible value at $34.95. And check this out. This $60 product is such a good value that on your average order value, when a customer comes into your store and wants one of my products, your average order value is about $44. How much would you guys, Ulta, love to increase your average order value of almost every customer with hair by $44? What would that mean to you per year? And that's a much different conversation than, oh, I got this. Do you like it? Holds really good. Like, be past that. Be like, it obviously it works. I'm not going to wait. Do I look like somebody who wastes my time? I'm here. It works. And this is how much money it's going to make you guys. And then you hit them with your price or their price. Excuse me. You hit them with the wholesale price. And you say, I understand you guys need a 40% margin to really make this viable and worth your time. I get it. I do too. So for that reason, I'll sell the 3-pack to you for $11. I'll sell you the 6-pack for $18. And I'll sell you the 12-pack for $24. You guys are more than doubling your money.
Wow.
So let's get this going. I can get you a case in a week. And that conversation is going to be strong. Now, that's a really high end, like an Ulta.
Right.
And that's going to be very much more complicated. I would walk before you run and focus on the boutiques. Hey, you guys sell a buttload of hair accessories. I'm just going to sell you a carton. Just you turn this, you'll turn this $100 carton, you maybe put like 10 units in a carton. You'll take this $100 carton and you're going to turn it into $250 in a week. And they're going to be like, shut up and take my money. And if it doesn't work out, you get feedback and you work on it. But yeah, you've got a ton, because you have a high margin product, you don't have to fight tooth and nail to sell it for an astronomical price or fall short on your checking account because you're not really making money. You're just kind of recycling money. So how do you feel about those prices and wholesale model?
I think that's a great pitch, and I'm definitely going to re-listen to that later and take notes.
Awesome. I'll make a note. That was about the 50-minute mark. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. There's not much else that sticks out to me. I know a lot of times people come on the show and then they have a question afterwards because they're kind of relaxed a little bit. And I'm trying to think of what is that one thing that's going to come up afterwards that we didn't dig into. But look, I feel free to ask if you have it. I feel really good about what you're doing, I got to say.
Thanks. I guess my main questions for you, because I've been an avid listener of the podcast, and thank you so much again for having me here, because I've been listening to this from the beginning. I remember I first started listening to it when I was prototyping on my 3D printer, and recently I was able to go back and listen to the manufacturing episodes, and I was like proud of how far I came. And it's truly been a guidebook, this podcast, so I appreciate it. And yeah, the main questions I really had for you were about my next steps, what I can expect moving forward in terms of just getting my product in as many hands as possible.
Well, I think the big next step, because you understand 3D printing, it's pretty straightforward. The problem is they're going to come to you in a box of a bunch of clips thrown in the box.
Right.
how are we going to package this awesome product? Any thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
I have some ideas. I think my ideas are more cute than practical. Um, in my focus group, that's another thing we could talk about because I hosted 2 focus groups, and someone, when they first tried it, they said it feels like a pillow. So I was thinking, oh, I could have those little pillow boxes.
Oh,
Yeah, and I thought that would be cute, but I just think that I don't know how I can mail that, if I can even mail it in that, but
I'm not familiar with a pillow box, but it sounds a little cumbersome, right? Maybe a little.
it looks like a box that has it looks like a pillow
So it's got
essentially.
like kind of curves, contours, and okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if you can make that small and it fits, 3 clips in it in a attractive manner, there's a lot to be said for good packaging.
Right.
Everybody knows it. When you get an Apple product, you don't even throw that box away. You'll never use it again in your life. Maybe when you take it
Yeah.
back. When you use it is when you take it back to Apple 6 years later and trade it in and you're all proud. Like, look, I have the original box.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for packaging. And a lot of companies, they'll subscribe to the model of, we're going to make a high-priced, high-margin product, and we're going to justify it with our packaging. It can be a good product, all that stuff. If you just put a zip tie around it and ship it to somebody, they're going to feel a little shortchanged. If you give them a customer experience, they'll be glad they paid the extra $5 for this product.
Exactly. And that's something I've learned from my social media and public relations background is I definitely want to have people to have a great experience when they shop with me, and just I think adding that personal touch goes a long way. So that is something that I would definitely happily invest in.
Take it from me, right now I'm in a position where I have no money for packaging, and packaging is something that it's difficult with cargo straps. They're heavy, they have edges, and it doesn't seem justified. But there are competitors of mine who have a excellent packaging experience, and it gets them higher reviews, it gets them more warranty signups, whatever the case may be. Sign up to our emailing list. The packaging says a lot. So be thinking about that. I would, if I was you, I would be willing to dedicate 25, 30% of your cost per unit towards packaging. So very practically, we said, I think you can make 3 of those for $3, a dollar a piece. So your 3-pack costs you $3. Throw in another whole $1.20, maybe even $75 towards a really nice box or package.
Right.
Because you're turning around and selling it for $19.95. Even if you give free shipping, it's light. It's going to be less than a pound, I hope. You're going to be able to almost more than double your money. You'll be looking at about a 75 to 80% profit margin. That's amazing. And that's on your lowest value product. Your next one, the 6-pack, you're making an 82% margin. And your 12-pack, you're making an 6% margin. You got it going on. I love this. It's a simple product. There's no electronics. It's plastic. It's light. It works. There's a huge need for it. You can make incredible social media content around this. You got to send me one. I just want to, I'm a geek. I'm going to put one in my wife's hair and then catch all the time. She lays down, she leans back in the car. Because it's sad because no women are outwardly complaining about this, just like no one was outwardly complaining about cargo straps before I came along. Because you're so used to being tortured by this thing, you just consider it part of life. When someone comes in and says, hey, did you know you don't have to live this way? It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's actually funny because if you go on TikTok and you just search like claw clip ouch or something, like that was part of my pitch presentation for the competition I was in, and I had the funniest pictures of people's faces when they leaned back with their clip and they're just like and it was hilarious.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm glad you had the foresight to seek that out, that there's
Yeah,
already content around it. I mean,
exactly.
there's no one talking about cargo straps. I had to create that from scratch. There's
Wow.
no forums, there's no funny memes, there's just trying to like start a podcast or anything. Let's talk about cargo straps. It just doesn't work. But you can, I mean, eventually you could spin off to a point where you're doing your own podcast, and maybe the theme isn't like, tell me about when a clip hit you in the head, but maybe it's like a beauty podcast or like a girl problems or a discomfort. I don't know. And it's all sponsored by the Cozy Clip. And that's another way you can get your name into the ether and have more
Yeah.
YouTube backing and blah, blah, blah. The world is your oyster at this point. I'm really excited for you, Elena.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, listen, reach out anytime. You got the email. Follow up with me in 3-6 months, whatever, please. I'd love to know about it. And I really thank you for being really candid today. You helped a lot of listeners who have a similar idea or what have you. You're able to help. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.